are you?
All right, we're going to get started here. The PowerPoint is on its way, but we'll start at least for the sake of it. Thanks for being here today. We're here to learn a little bit about the ministry of Street Angels Milwaukee Outreach. Eve is here from their group. Nancy
Shelly,
Bowen.
she's just upstairs grabbing the PowerPoint.
That's fine. And Nancy Bowen has been a big volunteer. You can mark your calendars now for the last week in June. The social ministry team has claimed all of the meal prep for that week. So for hot meals, I think Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yep.
And then for the lunches that week as well. And so the following Sunday. So we get 4 times for meal prep during the day, but then some evening times hopefully as well to put together some of the other stuff. So watch the voice and the bulletin for that. And you don't know this yet, but you'll get half of our Lenten offerings this year. And so we don't have the totals on that yet because, well, we're still counting.
Well, that might be a good sign.
It's not a bad thing. And so we're happy to share those
Thank you.
as time goes on as well. But without further ado, we'll let you get started and we'll get the PowerPoint as it comes.
It should be here momentarily. So, Street Angels Milwaukee Outreach, we've been around for, this is going on our 4th year. What we do is, our main focus is street outreach, homeless outreach. We go out 3 nights a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. On our bus, we have a couple small transport buses, which we have taken some of the seats out and we have put shelving in. So on the buses, you'll find clothing, blankets, tents, hygiene items, basic survival needs. We bring out a hot meal every day that we go out. We call it a meal for moment, and then we also have a bag lunch that we offer them, which is our lunch for later. Because we don't go out every day of the week, we always try to make sure that they have something sustainable, something with some protein in it that they can shove in their backpack and eat the following day or later that night or whatever it may be. It's a little hard without the PowerPoint, but
we can wait too. It's totally.
Let's wait a couple minutes because I don't want to get ahead of myself and then you guys are looking at the same thing over and over. I'm gonna call her quick. She just ran out to the parking lot.
No worries.
We made her husband run it over, so I'm sure he loves us right now.
Navigating the parking lot at this time in the morning can be an adventure in and of itself. So I'm told. I just kind of camp out all morning and don't have to worry about that. But
we were surprised we got a spot. We must
spirit works in mysterious ways.
It was right front too, right up front. I know she did email the PowerPoint too. We weren't sure if that would work though.
Oh.
But in the meantime, you like our new poster? I love it. Vistaprint. It was like add a picture, add a picture, add a word, done.
All right.
There she is.
It's the magic stick. Awesome. Thank you. I will do my best. Pray for me, everyone.
So everything I just told you, you're probably going to hear again.
A year?
Good.
It's great. We're in Welch.
Good. There's a lot of good things happening up there. Yeah. So does it go into service? West Long housing?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's predominantly for.
Great.
We have liftoff. Cross paths with them at some stage. I'm not there. There's some work with the folks at Silver Spring and Woodson.
Okay. Tom O'Neill?
Yeah.
Cool.
Actually,
And I'll get this TV on for you so you can see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Tom Schneider.
Just let me know when you want to go next.
They're looking to get a new executive director.
Oh, okay.
Which Irita Cunningham runs the John program up there. So I work for
All right, now I think we're ready to start for real. You can go ahead and change the slide. So one of the verses that we like to go by, keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. For by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. We find that very important. What we give on the streets, we get back. So, you know, this mission does, I think, just as much for us as it does for the people that we serve, which is important when it's volunteer work. It keeps us going. You know, it's been a long 4 years, and we can change. So what we do, our main thing, like I explained, is the homeless outreach, and our buses we call a mobile resource center. Again, those are the buses that are filled with all the basic survival needs and the meals and water. And we also have a summer hygiene program, which is called Showers of Hope, and we'll explain more about these a little later too. We're very involved in emergency winter relief in an effort to save lives, so people aren't freezing to death on the streets. And awareness and advocacy, we are huge on. We are providing hope and healing on the streets, and we are promoting community action and togetherness. We're creating connections for people to vital resources that are needed for them to get off the streets. And we're also partnering with other nonprofits, churches, governmental agencies, anyone that can help us help our friends we're willing to partner with. So what does homelessness look like? It doesn't discriminate. We've met people that are working full-time. We've met people that are working part-time. People you would never, ever imagine are living in storage units or below bridges. It doesn't discriminate by age, race, or religion. The reasons as to why someone becomes homeless are unique to each individual. Some of the reasons can be tragic life occurrences, such as the loss of a loved one, job loss, domestic violence, illness, divorce, family disputes, and other traumas. Other reasons can include mental health impairments, such as depression, schizophrenia, PTSD, and addiction. There's many, many different factors. Everybody's story is unique. For us, acknowledging and advocating for the multifaceted issues that are surrounding homelessness is very important, and it will and it has had a positive impact on homelessness in Milwaukee. And we can
Sure. These numbers are a little different right now, but in homelessness in Milwaukee, currently, I'll speak on behalf of Street Angels. When we go out 3 nights a week, the number of people that we see varies. In the beginning of the month, we see less people because those who receive any type of Social Security, disability, any type of income will often use those funds to secure a hotel room, to pay someone where it may not be safe for them to stay, but it's a couch to sleep on or a floor to lay on. So right now we're seeing about 60 street homeless individuals per night that we're out, and that number will dramatically increase, probably 3 times that by the end of May. In Milwaukee, in 2015, they estimated under the Census Bureau that there were 7,742 homeless individuals, which we think sounds kind of high, but it's the way that it's categorized under guidelines. In order for anyone that we serve to receive housing benefits, they have to be considered Category 1 street homeless. If they're on the streets every now and then, or if they're bunked up with somebody, they don't unfortunately qualify for the services, which makes it really frustrating for those not only that we serve, but for us as well. When someone does find themselves homeless, they will, of course, we tell them to call 211 to see if there's any shelter space available. Inevitably, there is usually never space available. 211 receives over 200 calls a day looking for a shelter bed. and unfortunately, there's just not enough available. Some of the shelters that they get connected to are the Hope House, Cathedral Center, Guest House, Milwaukee Women's Center, Sojourner, Salvation Army. We've had the opportunity to not only refer people to these shelters, but we've toured them and worked closely with them as well, so that we can give reassurance and encouragement for people to seek shelter, because a lot of people don't want to go into shelter for whatever reason. But we do really encourage them to do so. There are a lot less shelter options for people that are single, especially male. The family aspect of it, we do see a few families every year. When we do encounter a mom with small children or a dad with children, they are our top priority. We stop whatever we're doing, whether it's in the middle of an outreach route, a couple of us will get off the bus and we will stay with them to walk them through the 211 process to see if we can get them into shelter. If we can't do that, we go to alternative measures, which would include putting them in a hotel and connecting them to the resources, which we just had to do a week ago. There are a few resources outside of 211 that our friends do have the benefit of, but not many. Repairs of the Breach, located downtown, is a day shelter. There are meal sites on both the south side and the north side that they can utilize. The Rescue Mission and the Joy House for families, they do not go through 211. So it could be a resource for them to just walk into, but there are limitations as to a time restriction that they have to be there by, and if they work another job.
It was off, so it wasn't.
Sorry. If they work a second shift job, their options are limited because you cannot get into these places after a certain time. And we do work very closely with Milwaukee County's Housing First. They are our #1 partner. We do verifications of homelessness for them, which tracks every date, every time, where we saw the person, what we gave them, for years. I just completed one the other day that went back to 2016. I mean, that's a long time for someone to be on the streets waiting for a resource to get into housing, but it's the reality of it here in Milwaukee.
Can I ask some questions? So you get 200 calls a day to the 211 number. So that means like there's 200 people on average a day, or more actually, who are looking for shelter. And since there's only a dozen beds, almost all these are on the street every night somewhere.
Yeah, some of them might be, staying with a friend or bunking up or sleeping on the floor. Or it doesn't mean necessarily that they're under a bridge or, that's where our focus is. But it does mean that they are without a home. It does mean that they may not be in a safe environment, but they have a roof over their head. So they're calling to try to get out of that unsafe environment, or they're calling to make sure that they're not on the streets tonight, or but through coordinated entry, it's 200 calls a day that they receive, and on average, out of those 200 calls, they have, I have goosebumps when I talk about it, they have 12 shelter beds to fill.
Nothing.
So that's where we come in. That's where, when the people are falling through those cracks, that's where we are out here trying to catch them.
And you were going to break down out of those 7,000 that the census said are homeless. You see about 100 or 200 of those on the streets.
Yeah.
What's the rest of these 7,000?
So that's gonna be the people that, it might be 4 different families living in one house. It might be, you've seen, when we were younger, we had 7 friends bunked up in one house, and some of it might be on a friendly type thing, but some of it is just wherever you can stay. So not all of them are on the streets, and out of that 7,742, at least 1,000 of them are in shelters. So there's that, and then there's the ones that are street homeless, and then there's the ones that are bunking up from place to place, or whatever you might call it. So there's that's why she was saying there's different categories of homeless, and the category that we focus on is street homeless. Those that are living under the bridges and living in the woods in a tent.
Thank you.
So The process to go from living on the streets to being housed. First thing is contacting 211. They keep a database. So the first thing is to get that initial, what's the other word for me?
It's the initial contact, right?
Where you just call in and you give them all your information. It's kind of a consultation over the phone. And then they tell you, we don't have this place right now, but we're going to keep you on the list. When one comes available, we'll call you. So the majority of people that are calling 211 for shelter, that's kind of the roadblock that they're hitting. Once they're connected with 211 or one of the outreach teams such as Housing First, Outreach Community Health, Community Advocates, they actually do a similar outreach to what we do, but they're more middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. They need to verify where you're sleeping. They need to verify that you are street homeless before you can get into some of the programs. And that's where Street Angels comes in. We've kept such efficient records that Milwaukee County counts on our records to verify homelessness for federal vouchers. So they will contact us, or our friends will contact us and say, my case manager needs a letter of verification. Shelly jumps all over it, and we're putting every single Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday that we have seen this person, whether it's been a month, whether it's been 2 years, we're putting it on that letter and letting them know, yes, they've been out here. Yes, they are sleeping on the streets. We are also, we put people's information into what's called an ECHO database, which is now a shared database between volunteer teams such as ourselves, government agencies such as Housing First, and other nonprofits are able to use this database. And we're able to enter people into it, and we can go in there and see, has their caseworker came and seen them, and so that's kind of new, and so far it's amazing. You know, before it was just kind of getting out here and by the seat of our pants, hoping they were working with someone, but not knowing. So that's helping a lot. And a big thing for us, especially working with those who are chronically homeless, which would mean that they've been homeless for a year, is encouragement and guidance. That's why Shelly was saying we did the shelter tours, so we could tell them, no, this is really a nice place. Not just guess that it's a nice place and tell them to go there. What we have out here on the street is our word. Doesn't matter if we have a bus full of stuff or not. If our word is no good, we're no good out here. Many of the people that we serve have been through trauma after trauma after trauma, and as you can imagine, their trust level is not very high. So sometimes we meet people months, and I mean, it's probably been a year for some that we don't even know their name, and we don't ask. When they're ready to tell us, they'll tell us. And then we also do follow-up support for both case managers and the people that we serve on the streets. The case managers are very overloaded, so for them sometimes they may not find someone and they don't know where they are. Well, we're seeing them every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. So we're able to kind of play that extension cord and say, your case manager needs you to call them, or we know where they are, they told us they're staying here now. So that helps tremendously in the overall big picture, because now there's someone out here, and I don't like to use this word, but kind of keeping tabs on them. You know, you may not have seen them for 6 months, but we see them 3 nights a week. So we're able to exchange those messages and make sure that they're keeping up and doing what they should be doing.
Which is leading to faster housing.
Yep, yeah, it's getting them off the streets quicker, so.
Could you explain a little bit about the housing first?
Yeah, so Housing First, their model, it used to be, if you get clean, if you do this, if you do that, we'll help you find a house. Now it's, let's get you a house, and then let's work on all the other issues. So it's housing first, then let's find out why you were actually homeless and what needs to be done to, and so far it's been working great here. Housing First started here almost the exact same time that Street Angels started here. And almost immediately we created a partnership, and it's just been, it's been pretty great. The people at Housing First, it's more than just a job to them. They truly care. So.
We've seen so much success in that program that it would be a travesty not to partner with them. When we had an individual who was so severely alcohol dependent, who we kept alive at our winter warming station 2 years ago. And we watched him, one, not only want to come in on cold nights, but we encouraged him to to keep coming in and, you know, we wouldn't take your alcohol away. You know, we understand you have an issue, we'll monitor it for you. Well, that kept him alive. And in those months that he was with us at the warming station, he connected to Housing First. We verified that he had been out there for almost 2 years. And after cleaning up his messes night after night and hoping that he would be connected, he's in an apartment. He is completely sober and clean. He came to visit us at the bridge that we used to see him at, because we remembered the time that we were there. We didn't even recognize him. I was just like, this is incredible. He came on outreach with us a couple of times to serve the rest of the people that we serve, and he's thriving to this day. It's so, they're what keeps us going, knowing that it absolutely does work. House the person first, work on their issues after.
This is just a brief video. It's a little outdated, but it gives you an idea of what we do.
I can't say that everything's okay, 'cause I can see the tears you're crying, and I can't promise to take the pain away, but you can know I won't stop trying. I'll be the angel by your side, I will get you through the night. I'll be the strength you can't provide on your own. 'Cause when you're down and out of time, and you think you lost the fight, let me be the angel by your side. I know it feels like you're running out of faith, 'cause it's so hard to keep believing, but if I can bring a smile back to your face for a moment, you'll forget all about it. I'll be the angel by your side, I will get you through the night. I'll be the strength you can't provide on your own. 'Cause when you're down and out of time, and you think you've lost the fight, let me be the angel by your side. 'Cause this won't be the last time you'll need a little hope, but I wanna be the first to let you know. I'll be the angel by your side, I will get you through the night. I'll be the strength you can't provide on your own. 'Cause when you're down and out of time, and you think you lost the fight, oh, let me be the angel by your side. Let me be the angel by your
I actually love that video because so many people we don't see anymore because they're inside. That's when we first started, we were in the back of my car, which is crazy. But yeah, it's such a good video. Okay. So, in addition to everything else that we've explained, our outreach mission takes place 156 nights a year, all run by volunteers, community supported. We make an average of 20 to 25 stops at different homeless camps, bridges, specific meeting spaces, because the times that we're out, it does get late and we don't want to interrupt anybody. So if they are in need of something, we also put personal responsibility on the individuals as well. If you need something, you're going to have to meet us, because we cannot make it to all of you where you stay. And they do, they show up. We are on the streets from 6 o'clock right now until about 10 o'clock at night. In the summer, that'll get longer, but now that we have 2 buses, we can send out 2 crews, which will hopefully shorten that up a little bit. We have a few large encampments that we're going to right now. I don't know if any of you have been downtown, but I'm sure you've seen them near Clybourne. Just this week alone, or last week, we were visiting about 4 or 5 people there, and overnight it grew to over 20. And we don't have the answers as to why. But we know that the county's working really hard, because for every one person that's out there, they're getting 2 into housing or shelter. So we just hope that continues to decrease instead of increase. We have 3 main goals when we hit the streets. Number 1, we supply basic survival needs, which again is all provided by community. We provide hygiene items, clothing, shoes, tents, blankets, umbrellas, ponchos, you name it, we have it on our bus. Number 2 is to connect them to the vital resources that they need. And number 3 is just to provide hope, which is the main factor of our mission.
So our Showers of Hope program, we're hoping to expand it. Right now we are able to partner with Ascension Lutheran 1 day a month. It is a summer program, so we are able to offer them transportation to the church. We offer them a full lunch. We offer them new clothing, hygiene bag, and a 15-minute hot shower. And then a bus ticket to get wherever they need to go after that. The difference that we have seen is just, it's phenomenal. Like, I can't even explain it. To watch someone, walk in and walk out, it's just the most amazing feeling that we were able to provide that for them. We're hoping and praying that we'll be able to find either another day that Ascension can work with us or another facility that can work with us so we can offer that more often. There are places they can take showers. St. Ben's has a shower program, but they're downtown. So for our folks on the south side, some of them don't even speak English. So to expect them to take the bus downtown and the bus back isn't really feasible. So we believe that a shower is a basic human right, and it restores dignity. So that's a very important program to us, even though it's only once a month. It's very important.
And it's fun. We make it fun. We have only about 20 people that we can fit into those 2 hours, or 15 people. So it's more one-on-one, more time to interact with each other and learn their stories and figure out how we can help them and get a shower.
Yes. And interacting with them is an important part of what we do as well. It's not just about us coming out with a clipboard and taking their name and taking their number and saying, okay, we're going to put you on this list, blah, blah, blah. It was never about that for us. It just happened for us that we can help them get housed, so we will take their name and information. Other than that, it's strictly about the connection. It's strictly about the friendship. It's strictly about the guidance. And like I was telling you before, they do just as much for us as we do for them. When it's Mother's Day or it's a holiday, or they're the first ones to text us. They're the first ones to call us. When there's something going on with her daughter, or my daughter's currently pregnant, and every night it's, how's your daughter? How's your daughter? It's like, most of my friends don't even remember she's pregnant. So, it's really, we look at it as a family. It's become a family. So, winter emergency relief. The first year we started, we immediately started a warming room because we started doing this in about October. When it started to get really cold, we're like, oh my God, where did they go? And we found out they go nowhere. So we literally got out the yellow pages, got on our Googles, and we were calling church after church after church after church, and or empty buildings and nonprofits and who can open their doors. That first year we ended up working with 3 or 4 different churches. We were literally like a traveling circus. Everything, I mean, imagine having blankets for 100 people and having to move them every night. Or even the people that, you know, we were serving, we were going downtown and picking them up every night. They didn't know where we were going that night, but they knew they were safe with us and that we were gonna get them somewhere warm and safe to sleep. So that first year was 2015-16. We offered about 1,200 safe sleeps. And most of the people that we serve are repeat customers. So it was 1,200 safe sleeps. It was probably the same 100 or so people for the entire winter. The following winter, we did not have the availability to do a warming room. We did, however, offer transportation to all of the open warming rooms.
And hotels.
And hotels. That year we also did hotels for the vulnerable, because there are some people that, because of their mental illness or because of the trauma that they've been through in their life, they cannot bring themselves to go to a shelter type environment or an institutional type environment. So instead of just leaving them on the streets because it's their choice to stay on the streets, we convinced them literally and bribed them to go to a hotel room. For those that did go to a hotel room, we, you know, whenever it was that 10 or below, we got them the hotel room, made sure they had their food, made sure we brought them clothing and everything they needed. So we didn't just dump them in the hotel and hope they figured it out. The following winter, 2017-18, that was the year we partnered with Ascension Lutheran. They opened their doors and allowed us to offer over 1,700 safe sleeps. And we also did transportation that year as well. This last year was brutal with the polar vortex, and it was just cold all winter. It ended up being, I think it was 47 or 48 out of 60 nights that we were out offering transportation or supporting the warming rooms or sending our volunteers to coordinate and help support the warming rooms as well. We were able to offer over 500 individuals and families transportation to a safe warming room. These are a couple pictures of the warming rooms that we've hosted. As you'll see, the top one is a before and after. To us, it just looks like a hard gym floor. To our friends, it was their bed all winter. So those churches definitely were saving lives and continue to save lives. St. Ben's has been doing this for almost 25 years. Nobody told them they should. They just did. So. And then advocacy and awareness. This is our favorite part, but some people don't like us because of it. We are very, very vocal. We are very vocal. We created a Facebook group that now has over 6,000 followers. So we've created a platform where it's almost impossible not to listen to us. Some of the things that we've advocated for in 2017, they were looking at cutting the shelter funding by $200,000. And we just told you there's 12 beds available for every 200 phone calls. Doesn't make much sense. So we're really good with these cardboard signs. We actually showed up to the courthouse and went into the meeting with a large group, Nancy was there, and with our cardboard signs and made sure that that cut did not happen. This year, most recently, we were protesting because we feel that warming rooms should be a right to the people that are on the streets. It should be a right to any of us. We might take the train someday and get off the train and realize we don't have a ride home. What are we going to do? There was nowhere for anyone to go. So we started protesting that the city and the county and the state and the nation, they need to figure out the warming rooms. They need to be offering the warming rooms at 32 degrees freezing temperature or below. There was a county resolution passed, which is called the Emergency Code Blue Milwaukee, which is kind of just a suggestive resolution, but it's getting the funding available for the warming rooms to open at 32 or below. Our advocacy efforts will not stop here because we don't feel it should fall on the churches or the nonprofits or the volunteers. It should not be us crying about this every single winter. what are we gonna do? How are we gonna save our friends' lives? This is Wisconsin. Winter's been here a very long time, and I think it's time for our elected officials to figure that out. So now the funding is there. So our next step will be, let's get some buildings. You know, so we'll see where it goes from here. But the advocacy and awareness, I think, is kind of what built the organization. Our awareness, we look at it as education for the public, and we've gotten hospitals to think about and reform their discharge policies for homeless people. And you know, we've gotten businesses to think about the way that they're treating people, and even regular folks like you and I. You know, I didn't understand homelessness when I started this. So knowing that, how mind-blowing it was to me, I thought, we gotta tell everybody. We gotta let people know what's really going on out here. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. This is actually another brief video. One of our awareness stunts, which we actually ended up turning into a fundraiser for our bus. We spent 48 hours of homelessness in a park downtown Milwaukee. And this is just kind of a video showing some of the nights that we had.
The sun rises, they shed light on the issues of homelessness, because for many, this isn't a challenge, it's reality. We have
empty bottles, a cardboard box, these shattered dreams, this littered street, this broken block is heavy on your heart. But one thing is clear, you want to save the world, you ought to start here. You've come a long way, yeah, you've been blessed. Such a long way, now go the rest. The tattered wings of stubborn angels, they fall you here. Now turn the tables, become one of those relentless souls. Refuse to let you fall, refuse to let you go. Come on, you were never gonna make it through when everybody else gave up on you. They walked you through the fire to hell. Now you be someone else's stubborn angel. Think about all the times you were a cause lost, a bad bet full of regret, a long shot. Yeah, you can talk the talk, and that's just fine. But now you need to walk the walk and maybe run a few stop signs. Because tattered wings of stubborn angels float you here. Now turn the tables, become one of those relentless souls. Refuse to let you fall. tables. This world could use some more stubborn angels.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for spending your weekend with us. Thank you so much.
So we were all a little delirious after spending 48 hours outside. So it makes you question like mental illness, or is it sleep deprivation? Which came first? Because it was pretty brutal to be out there, and we had luxuries. I think the most important thing that came from us staying outdoors for 48 hours, as our friends would, maybe a little bit better, was not that we raised funds to purchase a new bus, but it was the encounters that we had with the friends that felt safe to sleep with us in the park over the weekend, who knew that they wouldn't have to leave, the police wouldn't be coming to bother them. But more importantly, our experience downtown when we couldn't sleep because there were 5 million spiders dropping from the sky. So we walked to George Webb's, which of course is open 24 hours. We each had $5 to spend that had to last us through the entire 48 hours. I discovered that saltines and jelly was really good. But even I had stepped outside, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 after bar closed, and there was a group of young men walking past. We had nothing, you know, I had my backpack, and I was like, excuse me, do you have $1? And in not the nicest words, he told me to off and get a job. And I was like, okay. And I watched him go into George Webb's, and I walked back in, and I talked to the waiter, and I said, after they order, I'd like to pay their bill. And he's like, well, we don't usually do that here. I said, I need to pay their bill. So we did. We paid their bill, and we waited for their food to come. We took out our little brochure, and I stuck their receipt in there, and I walked over and I said, do you remember me? I said, I was outside, and I asked you for $1, and you told me to, in not so nice words, off, and to get a job. And I said, just to let you know, I do have a job. I work full-time. I also volunteer full-time, serving the homeless and the less fortunate. And Street Angels has paid for your after-bar meal, and I hope you enjoy it. And they all just sat there with their mouths wide open, like, what do we do? Like, we weren't expecting this. So they just sat there, and I went back to the table, and one of them walked over, and he's like, I am so sorry. With tears coming down, he's like, I am so sorry. I think that was the biggest lesson. The reason that we were out on the streets that night was just to share awareness. It could be anybody. It could have been me. It could have been you. So.
It made a lifelong impression on those young men, I can promise you that. I mean, he didn't want to leave the table, he didn't know what to say, he was just, and eventually, I was feeling bad for him, it got to the point, and eventually we had to tell him, it's okay, you can go sit down. We kind of want to eat our saltines here, so. So another huge part of our mission is promoting community action and togetherness. We have learned that the group, the Facebook group, and doing what we do on the streets and the events we are bringing people together from every walk of life. And it's beautiful, and it's amazing, and it's how things get changed. So we are huge on, just even bringing community together. We're doing an event June 15th for no reason other than bringing community together. So you're all more than welcome to come to our event. We're going to do a community cleanup in the morning, and then we're just having a picnic at Kosciuszko Park on 9th and Lincoln. We're going to have not one, 2 bouncy houses. So bring your socks. We're going to have a little bit of music and a lot of food, so you're more than welcome to come to that. We are all about partnering with churches and nonprofits and organizations and individuals and anyone that wants to do something good in the community. It doesn't necessarily have to be for homeless. We like to leave a trail of smiles everywhere we go, and we're pretty good at it. we're pretty goofy out here. Most of the businesses on our route see us coming a mile away and they're just gleaming because they know we're gonna do something goofy to make them laugh, so. Ways to get involved with our organization. We recently just acquired our first facility. We have been working out of storage units, rooms in our homes for the last 4 years. So it's like we are just completely over the moon. We have everything in one spot, including all of our donations and our buses, and pretty soon we'll have computers there, and it's going to be quite an amazing change for us. So we're able to offer more opportunities now. So we're looking into what else can we do at this time. But right now we always have the meal prep process that we're looking for people to donate a meal and cook a meal and pack it in some kind of to-go container for increments of 20 people. So we'll have so many different sign-ups that week. Some people bring cups of chili or cups of spaghetti with a spoon sticking out the top. We had one woman go buy a bunch of McChicken sandwiches and put them in a clamshell container with a cookie and I think a piece of candy or something, which I thought was just absolutely brilliant. So there's lots of creative ways you can do that. In the interim, we're actually looking, if anybody knows of something, we're looking to use or rent a commercial kitchen on the Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, so we can ensure better quality and safety of the food. We're growing now, so we're at a pivotal point in our organization where it's time to start doing things a little more business-like. So we just want to make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. We also have the lunch for later sign up, where you can make lunch bags for 30 or more people. If you want to sign up for 2 slots, then you do 60 people. This has been a huge thing that our groups are doing, Girl Scout groups, different churches, Boy Scouts. A lot of them will color the bags or leave little inspirational notes. And as silly as that sounds, it's the first thing they look for in their bag. They want to know what the kids drew for them or what inspirational note a community member left for them. To them, there is this world of people that they've never met that care about them. And that's very, very uplifting for them. So when they get those little notes, or, it's for most of them, it's not just they know you mean it. So that's a very important part of what we do as well. We just added a Friday, we call it the Friday Rollers, because we roll everything and we mark it with masking tape and we write what it is, like men's jeans size 42. So when we're in the back of the bus pulling stuff, it's easier. So we have a group coming every Friday now to help us keep the buses clean, keep the donations sorted and organized. And sometimes, this last Friday we stayed an hour later because we just had this big therapy session and it was great. We were crying and just telling our life stories. So we also have the community hydration sign up, which is signing up to bring us 3 cases of water on the night of outreach. It goes on the bus and it goes right out. And then we have the outreach, the actual coming on the bus with us. We're just starting to change things a little bit. We're going to start doing a training, so it's going to be a mandatory training for anyone that goes on outreach with us. So you hit the training and then you're able to sign up for a couple nights to come out and outreach with us. And eventually we're looking for a few more committed volunteers. Now that we have 2 buses, we need 2 bus drivers and 4 committed volunteers for every single night that we can make sure both buses are out. Obviously donating new and gently used clothing. Most of the people on the streets prefer to dress the way we're dressed. They want to wear t-shirts and hoodies, and the girls don't really want to wear lace and sequins, and some of them do. And when we get stuff like that, we will pull, like, oh, this is perfect for so-and-so, but mainly it's jogging pants, jeans, t-shirts, sweatshirts. New socks and underwear are #1 requested. Socks, underwear, water. Those are the #1 requested items on the street. So, and then of course there's donating financially to us for our operating supports, which are starting to, we didn't have much overhead before. So this is it's a very exciting and nerve-wracking time for us. We are trying to transform from an all volunteer-based organization to a volunteer with 2 full-time staff members, or to an organization with 2 full-time staff members, rather. We have learned that the things that we made happen around our full-time jobs, around our families, around our houses. One of our board members said to us, "Can you imagine if you guys could do this full-time?" And I'm getting goosebumps now again, because at that time we got goosebumps like, wait, that could happen? You know, that was never our goal, but that's where we're heading, so it's very exciting. It's very exciting and it's very nerve-wracking. And that kind of concludes our presentation. We want to thank you guys very much. You guys have been consistently supporting us, whether you know it or not, through Nancy Bowen especially.
Bowen is an all-star.
That you have no idea. Like, it's not even a question of Nancy coming. We know Nancy's coming, whatever the event is. All of our awareness and advocacy, whenever we're at the courthouse with signs, she's there with us, so.
And she makes the best tater tot casserole.
They still hear about it. They know this is like a year later and they're still asking when it's coming again.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, what inspiration, what got you guys to start this? What happened? Why?
So for me personally, I went to college and I studied psychology. I've always wanted to help people. Originally it was kids until I had my own. And I had one and I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to do this ever again. But it was just something that it kind of almost fell in my lap. Typically on Christmas, I always try to adopt a family or a group of my friends, you know, we'll adopt a couple families. Well, one year I decided I wanted to do a sock drive for the homeless. And I went to deliver the socks and I have just been sucked in ever since. You know, and then we met coordinating and volunteering at the first winter warming room that we had. And we met these people and we spent the whole winter with them and, you know, we bonded with them and they're our friends. And we started asking them like, so who brings you dinner when you're, you know, under the bridge, or where do you get your blankets from? Or, and they're like, if we find something, we find something, or I walk 6 miles to the meal site, or we're like, oh, no, we're bringing you dinner Sunday. Well, it was him and then 5 other guys showed up. And then the next time it was another 5 guys. And then they're like, hey, my buddy's down the street over here. Can you go, you know, make sure he's okay? And that's one thing they do is really look out for each other. So that's where the organization just started growing and growing, because they would tell one person who would tell one person who would tell one person. And here we are, 4 years later.
For myself, I had been an advocate for my dad, who was a quadriplegic in a state-funded nursing home. So he was Medicare, Medicaid. And I had to make the decision to put him into a nursing home, so I made sure that with my full-time job and my family, but I was still there, getting his laundry, stocking up his snacks, making sure that he was being taken care of. There were many challenges so similar to what our friends go through on the streets that my dad had to endure in the nursing home. And in late 2015, he passed away unexpectedly. And I was lost with my time. I didn't know what to do anymore. You know, my years had been so focused on making sure that he was okay. To have that loss was tragic on me, even though I still had my family, you know. So I came across this post on Facebook about helping the homeless, and that's where Eve and I met, and that's when we started.
We can't shake each other now, we've tried. Yeah.
Just for grins, what's your annual operating budget?
You know,
Just to put it into perspective.
her and I hate budgets. We should have brought the treasurer. Last year, was it last year? So we're in a fiscal year. So 2017-18, 36,000. 2019-20 is going to be almost $250,000 because now we have a facility. Now we have 2 buses to take care of. Now we're looking at getting 2 full-time staff members. So this is the point where we're like, it's either make it or break it. So if we come back next year, we made it.
Just wanted to say that back in 1964, when I trained for the Army Corps of Engineers, they had us out building Bailey panel bridges in 8 below 0 weather. Now the Army gave you cold weather gear, but for people that live on the streets, I will say both of you and your group, you literally save lives. People don't understand how deadly that weather can be.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it happens every year here.
And
That's why to us it was kind of mind-blowing that the first warming room we did, there was 0 government involvement with any of the warming rooms. They're just like, oh cool, churches are opening their doors, okay. 0 funding, 0 coordinating, nothing. So, uh-oh. Are the kids moving in?
Right.
Yes.
I hear all the time not to give money to people on the streets because they'll spend it on drugs or on alcohol. Yet, obviously, it's all right with you if people are asking for money. How do you
On
reconcile
outreach,
that?
we have a specific rule, we do not give money.
Okay.
What you do on
me?
your own
I work,
time.
I work on the intermodal station.
Okay.
Where all your pictures are.
Yep.
So I encounter your friends every day.
Yep, yep.
What do I do?
So there's a couple different things you do. Number one, my thing is I give out money sometimes if I have it in my pocket, whatever. I feel like if God puts it on my heart to give to that person, it is not for me to question what that person does with it. Me giving that person $5 may have prevented him from robbing this grandmother over here. You know, there's so many different, or, I mean, drugs are horrible, but in some cases, if they don't get those drugs, they're gonna die.
Sure.
You know, so that's a personal decision you need to make.
Yep.
Some people will carry around blessing bags. Some people will carry around $5 McDonald's gift cards, and you know that's another way to say, hey, I care about you. Go get yourself something to eat.
Sure.
You know, so that's a personal decision you need to make. I never worry about what they're gonna do with the money because I don't feel like it's my business. God told me to do it, I do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
You see that sometimes in all the posts actually. Just last week on Mayfair and North Avenue, and I don't know if I should or shouldn't, and I say, oh, there's organizations, but maybe
And
that's
that's
not the
something
right
you can
thing
do
to
too. Have you heard of street angels? Forward them our phone number, right here.
Or should I be giving them some money? I don't know.
That's a personal decision you have to make. You know, if you're not worried about what they're gonna do with it, or if you feel like if you see them in the liquor store buying a bottle with your money a couple minutes later, it's gonna make you extremely mad. You know, that's, me personally, I mean, I had one guy come up to me like, hey, I really need $5. It's my birthday, I need a bottle. You know what? Just because of your honesty, here's 10. So, that's really a personal choice, so. Yeah, and sometimes, you know, with the panhandlers, people, it's really tough because a lot of them are not legitly homeless.
Yeah.
They're legitly poor, they're legitly living in poverty, but they might have a place to go to. And then of course you hear about all the scammers and so, you know,
They're out there too.
that's why I say it's a personal decision. I'm not worried about if somebody takes $5 and scams me out of it because God put it on my heart. So it's just, that's my personal standpoint though. Now when we're in outreach, we have a strict rule not to give money. It has happened a couple times, but.
It's really interesting there. The folks at UMOS on the south side, that some of the folks who were standing on the road, they told a group of us that were there, are actually being human trafficked.
Yes.
You know, and so there's an intersection between trafficking and panhandling that I had never known or realized.
So trafficking doesn't always include just sex.
Yeah. But there's a quota for, you know, so those people aren't actually getting that money, but someone else is using them as a, you know, as a
We just had UMOS out with us on Thursday.
There's sex trafficking.
They come out with us
Yeah.
a couple times a week or a month.
Would those people who are being trafficked, would they necessarily look foreign? Might they?
doesn't necessarily mean that.
No.
And you know, some of it in our mind it's trafficking. In their mind, it's just doing what I have to do to have a place to sleep tonight. And that goes for the sex trafficking as well.
Yeah.
You know, some of the women feel that it's their choice. I think that we kind of look at it like, I don't think that was your choice. You know, I think that was a manipulation of a choice. But there's only so much we can do. You know, and then we're careful not to, we never want to step on anybody's dignity or pride or, you know, if panhandling is their thing, it's their thing. We don't question it. We don't ask. You know, most of the people that we deal with, we don't know anything about them until they tell us. And we are asked often, do we feel like we are enabling them? Which I kind of understand in one aspect. But we like to say we are definitely not enabling them. We are feeding their bodies until they are ready, able, and willing to feed their own souls. Whether that would be going to church to be saved, whether that would be doing what they need to do to get off the streets and, you know, going to work with the county or getting a job or whatever their soul is hungering for, we cannot give them that. You know, we can't, but we can guide them and we can encourage them. And that's our main thing, is to just keep them uplifted. And
Are you able to share your faith
my faith.
with your friends?
Yes. We have, our board is all over the place. We have a member of the LGBTQ community on our board. We have a member on our board who is Buddhist. We have a couple Christians on our board. So we're all over the place. We don't have like specific rules about what you should or should not do. If the spirit hits you, do what you need to do. You know, my brother is very Christian, and he comes out often, and he always asks, can I pray with you? And 9 times out of 10, they're, oh yes, please do. You know, so that's, we're not a religious-based organization, just because our views are so broad. There's so many different.
And those we serve are so broad.
Right. We promised we weren't going to talk about this, but I'm going to a little bit. The rescue mission.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't come and pray, you don't eat. And I just think that is just completely opposite of what a Christian should do. Because we're not going to tell you, you can't tell someone, this is it. You can show them. And by leaving them outside, not eating, while you're inside eating, is not showing them. So we have a bit of an issue there, but we'll leave it at that for now, yeah. Any other questions? Yay, you guys rock. Oh, we didn't even do that, did we? I'm Eva, and this is Shelly. And together we are.
So selfless and so dedicated and so, to call these people their friends and to really mean it. I just love them both to death.
You do.
And they do so much, and they do it from the kindness of the community. They don't have a government funding them. You know, they work with the government to try and get help, but to just start this wonderful thing all by themselves. So Eva Welch and Shelly Sarasin.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're
And Nancy Bowen.
No.
We couldn't do it without community. We always tell people that we could drive around and wave at people, unless you guys give us stuff to give to them. You know, that's all we're gonna do.
So
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for having us. We appreciate it. We enjoy doing this kind of